Welcome to the Totally Honest Cooking Show. I'm Mark. Today we're making risotto with caramelized garlic and parsley puree. So I started by caramelizing garlic by roasting it extra long. I cut off a third of the top, I poured olive oil over it, and I wrapped it in foil and roasted it at 350 degrees for about an hour and 15 minutes. You can watch last week's video for that, or you can just follow those instructions and you'll be okay. I'm going to go ahead and blade these out into a small bowl. You could also just squeeze them, but I like to be a little neater. So the ones that are straight up burned, I'm not going to use. I've got some backup garlic for that. After turning to my backup garlic, I put it all in a bowl, and now I'm mashing it with a fork. It's not quite as caramelized as I'd prefer, but lacking caramelization is better than burned. We do what we can. If you watch last week's video, maybe dial back to an hour rather than an hour 10. Okay, now that it's kind of blended but not all the way blended, I'm adding 1 teaspoon of hot water and 1 teaspoon of balsamic vinegar. And we're just going to keep mixing it together. We're making a garlicky paste. Okay, that looks pretty good. Next up, we have to prep the parsley puree. I bought a crap ton of parsley because I'm not sure how much this would take. Recipe calls for 6 cups of roughly chopped flat parsley. They claim that's 2 bunches. I don't know if I believe them. It says leaves and stems. So I'm going to cut it off at the stems that have leaves, because that makes sense to me. I don't like whole stems, but whatever. I'm gonna wash these, then I'm gonna spin dry. They don't need to be super dry because you're throwing them in boiling water in a couple minutes. But coming over to the stovetop, I've got a large pot of water. I'm bringing it to a boil, and I'm throwing in a tablespoon of salt. Unlike actual professionals, I do like to measure when I've never made something before. So keep that in mind. A lot of people can eyeball. I'm not one of those people. And again, it's a rough chop. And I'm just going to turn into the count from Sesame Street. One. Ah ha ha ha. Okay, without using the full stems, 1 bunch is 2 cups. 6. Ah ha ha ha. Okay, that's properly sorted. While I'm waiting for the water to come up to temp, I'm creating an ice bath. So I'm taking a bunch of ice and I'm putting it in cool water. And there's our ice bath. Okay, so the pot's getting ready to boil. Here's the game plan. I got all this parsley. I have no idea whether it's going to fit in there. It might not. If it does, I'm going to throw it in there for about 30 seconds till it's wilted. Then I'm going to drain it off in my sink. If it doesn't all fit, then I'm going to use this slotted spoon to take out whatever fits in there and drop it in the ice bath. Okay, we've hit a nice boiling. Okay, it fits, mostly. 6, 7, 8. Okay, note that it's a super bright color. Note that it's a super bright color comparatively, and we have thrown it into the ice bath to stop its cooking. Okay, the next step says drain well, so I'm just gonna squeeze it out because, you know, what are you gonna do? Okay, you didn't need to squeeze the water out. Don't do that. That was dumb. We've transferred it to our blender. We're adding half a cup of water, which is why you don't need to squeeze the water out. And we're blending it for 1 minute. If you're like me and you have a blender that's mostly used for cocktails, you might want to scrunch it down a little bit more. These Ninja blenders aren't really made for what I'm using this for, but whatever. Okay, remember when I said that that blender might not be the best option for this? I'm gonna try something else. I don't want to break out my food processor because I already did the blender, so this is compromise. Okay, that's as good as it gets. Okay, now we're ready to move on to the rice. The first thing you're going to do is finely chop a medium onion. I didn't have a medium onion, so I did half of a large onion, and we're just going to call that a day. We also wanted to start 4 cups of broth simmering and then turn it down to hold warm. So that's what we did. Now I'm taking my olive oil. I'm heating a Dutch oven to medium heat. And I'm pouring in some oil. I'm going to go ahead and throw in our onion, along with a teaspoon of salt. Then we're going to twiddle everybody around. At this point, I want to get my rice ready, and at this point, I've got 2 cups of carnaroli rice that I got off of Amazon for very cheaply. FYI, you do not rinse risotto rice, so don't do that. While I'm waiting for that, I do need a couple things, so I'm going to zest a lemon. Since my onion appears to be done, I'm going to go ahead and toss in my risotto rice. And we're toasting it. Giving this about 6 minutes or until everything looks toasty. And you don't want anybody sitting for too long, so keep that in mind. You do need 2 teaspoons of zest though, so you might need another lemon. Keep that in mind. But don't leave the rice alone for very long because you don't want it to burn. Right? And this is just one of those things. If you're not hosting a cooking show, I recommend doing everything beforehand. We're going to go ahead and add half a cup of dry white wine. Half a cup of dry white wine. And we're cooking until most of it is evaporated. This is a Sauvignon Blanc. I use this because I can get it in little tiny bottles. Once everybody has evaporated, we're going to go ahead and start adding ladlefuls. So I'm going to start with 2 ladlefuls of broth. Scrape everybody up. Then we're stirring it constantly until it's absorbed. And as it starts to get absorbed, you know what you're going to do? You're going to add another ladleful. And you're just going to stand here and stir. Stir everything, stir and stir and stir. If you do have to stop stirring, don't stop for long, because you don't want to stop for long. This process will take anywhere from 12 to 18 minutes according to the recipe, but it might take less time than that depending on how hot you've got it and your oven. You know how it goes. Okay, so I used all the stock and it's not done. So I'm going to add a ladleful of water. You want to taste your rice to make sure that it's done. And if it's not done, just keep stuffing it full of liquid. You want the water to be warm so you don't, stop the cooking process. You might want to stick it in the microwave, but okay, now that it appears to be mostly done, I'm going to go ahead and add my parsley puree. And I'm going to stir it in. We want to give it enough heat that it's going to wake up a little bit. Okay, now I'm turning the heat off. And I'm letting it sit for a minute. 3 tablespoons of Parmesan, 2 teaspoons of lemon zest. Too early for the zest. I'll take that out for right now. That's a whoopsie doodle. And 2 tablespoons of cold butter. And we're just gonna beat it in there. It should appear shiny and it should emulsify a little bit. We'll see in a minute. Okay, I think we got it. We're going to throw in our 2 teaspoons of lemon zest at this time. I'm also going to add another teaspoon of balsamic vinegar. I burned my finger dealing with the garlic, so I'm just stirring like a caveman, in case you're wondering why I'm doing it this way. We're ready to serve. A little bit of lemon zest on top for color. And this is Cologne seeds. Sometimes it's also called black cumin. It's got a couple other names. And we're going to garnish with these as well. Yeah, look at that. Pretty good. Add a little dollop of that roasted garlic. Look at that. I'm hungry. Okay, leave a comment down below. Let me know how I'm doing. Like, subscribe, ding the little bell, and I'll see you next Wednesday. Bye.